Hare Krishna everyone, we are continuing to read The Science of Self-Realization, the book by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 6, Finding Spiritual Solutions to Material Problems, and this section is entitled Spiritual Communism. Professor Kotovsky: You have said that in any society there are 4 divisions, but they are not so easy to distinguish. For instance, one can group together different social classes and professional groups into 4 divisions. In any society there is no difficulty. The only difficulty is, for instance, in the socialistic society. In our country and other socialist societies, how you can distinguish the productive group from the workers? Srila Prabhupada: For example, we belong to the intellectual class of men. This is a division. Professor Kotovsky: Intelligent class, Brahmanas. And you can also put together all the intelligentsia in that department? Srila Prabhupada: Yes. Professor Kotovsky: And then the administrative class? Srila Prabhupada: Yes. Professor Kotovsky: But who are the Vaishyas and Shudras? That is the difficulty, because all others are workers, factory workers, collective farm workers, and so on. So from this point of view, there is a great distinction, in my opinion, between socialist society and all societies preceding socialism. Because in modern Western society, you can group all social and professional classes in these particular class divisions: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, intellectuals, productive class, owners of the productive systems, factory owners, for instance, and menial workers. But here, you have no Vaishyas, because you have the administrative staffs in factories, and you can call them Kshatriyas, and then there are the Shudras, the workers themselves, but no intermediate class. Srila Prabhupada: That is stated, Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In this age, practically all men are Shudras. But if there are simply Shudras, the social order will be disturbed. In spite of your state of Shudras, the Brahmana is found here, and that is necessary. If you do not divide the social order in such a way, there will be chaos. That is the scientific estimation of the Vedas. You may belong to the Shudra class, but to maintain social order, you have to train some of the Shudras to become Brahmanas. Society cannot depend on Shudras, nor can you depend on the Brahmanas. To fulfill the necessities of your body, there must be a brain, arms, a stomach, and legs. The legs, the brain, and the arms are all required for cooperation to fulfill the mission of the whole body. So in any society, you can see that unless there are these 4 divisions, there will be chaos. It will not work properly. It will be Maya, and there will be disturbances. The brain must be here, but at the present moment there is a scarcity of brains. I am not talking of your state or my state. I am talking the whole world as a whole. Formerly, the Indian administration was a monarchy. For example, Maharaja Parikshit was a Kshatriya king. Just before his death, he renounced his social order. He came to the forest to hear about self-realization. If you want to maintain the peace and prosperity of the whole world society, you must create a very intelligent class of men, a class of men expert in administration, a class of men expert in production, and a class of men to work. That is required. You cannot avoid it. That is the Vedic conception. Mukha Bahu Rupadaja. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.17.13. Mukha means the face. Bahu means the arms. Uru means the waist. And Pada means the legs. Whether you take this state or that state, unless there's a smooth scientific establishment of these four orders of life, the state or society will not run very smoothly. Professor Kotovsky: generally it seems to me that this whole Varnashrama system to some extent created a natural division of labor in the ancient society. But now division of labor among people in any society is much more complicated and sophisticated. So it is very confusing to group them into four classes. Srila Prabhupada: confusion has come to exist because in India, at a later day, the son of a Brahmana, without having the Brahminical qualifications, claimed to be a Brahmana, and others, out of superstition or a traditional way, accepted him as a Brahmana. Therefore, the social order, the Indian social order, was disrupted. But in our Krishna conscious movement, we are training Brahmanas everywhere, because the world needs the brain of a Brahmana. Although Maharaja Parikshit was a monarch, he had a body of Brahmanas and learned sages to consult, an advisory body. It is not that the monarchs were independent. In history it is found that if some of the monarchs were not in order, they were dethroned by the Brahminical Advisory Council. Although the Brahmanas did not take part in politics, they would advise the monarch how to execute the royal function. This is not too far in the past. How long ago was Ashoka? Professor Kotovsky: that would be equal to what we call, in our terminology, ancient and medieval India. Srila Prabhupada: yes. Professor Kotovsky: in old and feudal India, you're right, it was very open, and the major part of the high administrative staff in the legislative department were Brahmanas. Even in the Mughal era, there were Brahmanas to advise the Muslim emperors and administrators. Srila Prabhupada: that is a fact. The Brahmanas were accepted. They formed the advisory committee of the king. For example, Chandragupta, the Hindu king, was in the age of Alexander the Great. Just before Chandragupta, Alexander the Great went from Greece into India and conquered a portion. When Chandragupta became emperor, he had Chanakya as his prime minister. Perhaps you have heard this name, Chanakya? Professor Kotovsky: yes. Srila Prabhupada: yes, he was a great Brahman politician, and it is by his name that the quarter of New Delhi, where all the foreign embassies are grouped together, is called Chanakya Puri. Chanakya Pandit was a great politician and a Brahmana. He was vastly learned. His moral instructions are still valuable. In India, school children are taught Chanakya Pandit's instructions. Although he was the prime minister, Chanakya Pandit maintained his Brahmana spirit. He did not accept any salary. If a Brahmana accepts a salary, it is understood that he has become a dog. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He can advise, but he cannot accept employment. So, Chanakya Pandita was living in a cottage, but he was actually the prime minister. This Brahminical culture and the Brahminical brain is the standard of Vedic civilization. The Manu Smriti is an example of the standard of Brahminical culture. You cannot trace out from history when the Manu Smriti was written, but it is considered so perfect that it is the Hindu law. There is no need for the legislature to pass a new law daily to adjust social order. The law given by Manu is so perfect that it can be applicable for all time. It is stated in Sanskrit to be Tri Kaladao, which means good for the past, present, and future. Professor Kotovsky: I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to my knowledge, all of Indian society in the second half of the 18th century was, by the order of the British administration, under a law divergent from Hindu law. There was a lot of change. The actual Hindu law that was used by the Hindus was quite different from the original Manu Smriti. Srila Prabhupada: they have now made changes. Even our late Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru introduced his own Hindu code. He introduced the right of divorce in marriage, but this was not in the Manu Samhita. There are so many things that have changed, but before this modern age, the whole human society was governed by the Manu Smriti. Strictly speaking, modern Hindus are not strictly following the Hindu scriptures. But our point is not to try to bring back the old type of Hindu society. That is not possible. Our idea is to take the best ideas from the original idea. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam there is a description of the communist idea. It is described to Maharaja Yudhishthira. If there is something good, a good experience, why shouldn't you adopt it? That is our point of view. Besides that, modern civilization is missing one all-important point: the aim of human life. Scientifically, the aim of human life is self-realization, Atma Tattva. Atma Tattva. It is said that unless the members of human society come to the point of self-realization, they are defeated in whatever they do. Actually, it is happening in modern society, despite all economic advancement and other advancement. Instead of keeping peace and tranquility, they're fighting individually, socially, politically, and nationally. If we think about it in a cool-headed way, we can see that in spite of much improvement in many branches of knowledge, we are keeping the same mentality that is visible in the lower animal society. Our conclusion, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that this human body is not meant for working hard for sense gratification. But people do not know anything beyond that. They do not know about the next life. There is no scientific department of knowledge to study what happens after this body is finished. That is a great department of knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.13, it is said, Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Deha means this body. Dehina means the one who owns this body. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. The Dehi, the owner of the body, is within, and the body is changing from one form to another. The child has a certain type of body that changes to another type when he is older. But the owner of the body still exists throughout. Similarly, when this body is completely changed, we accept another body. People do not understand this. We are accepting different bodies, even in this life, from babyhood to childhood to boyhood to youth. That is a fact. Everyone knows it. I was a child, but that childhood body is no more. I have a different body now. What is the difficulty in understanding that when this body will be no more, then I will have to accept another body? It is a great science. Yeah, we're going to stop here for today, and we shall continue tomorrow. So thank you so much for tuning in. The link to this book is in the description. Please check out our website shravanamdiaries.com, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.